The design of the Parklands property will soon move ahead. More on that, plus 2 new tax abatements and a higher cost for a city project highlighted a busy Ferdinand Town Council meeting, and Bill Potter is back out at the Du Bois County 4-H Fair for tonight's episode of Inform. All of that and much more is up next here on the 18 WJTS News. Hello, I'm Bradford Raths. Work on the Jasper Parklands property is set to move ahead in the near future. The Jasper Park Board approved hiring Evansville-based Hafer Associates as the design firm for the Parklands during their regular monthly meeting last night. Parks Director Ken Buck says there were 8 firms who sent back proposals for the design efforts. However, he says the experience of Hafer Associates is what made them stand out.
They've done around between 150 and 250 park designs. A lot of them this similar, this size. Some of them were 20-acre parks. Some of them, of course, were 200 acres, but we're looking at about 48 to 50. But they've done a lot of them around the Evansville area. They've done a lot of them in the Louisville area. They've done a lot of them in the Indianapolis area. We like their presentation. We like what they showed us, and we're hoping they're going to do us a good job here.
Buck says design costs have not yet been determined. He says park officials are hoping to get the design process done by the end of this year. Buck says development of any plans at the Parklands would likely start next year, though the park will remain as a passive park area when all is said and done. Now, a framework for the Parklands was laid out during a public hearing held back in March at Clubhouse 61. Jasper City consultants David Gamble with Gamble & Associates along with Barry Alberts of City Visions laid out several ideas, including a connected wetlands area with a pedestrian bridge, a network of trails that would be built and extended off of existing cart paths, and a small outdoor amphitheater for performances. At that meeting, Gamble preached the importance of staying patient regardless of what form the Parklands takes on.
Well, the evolution of the Parklands has really been going on for 2 years, and we feel that the framework that's been developed has been cultivated from the community. We've got a lot of great input. The general sentiment is that it's a place of passive recreation. It capitalizes on the site's intrinsic value, which is its landscape.
That framework is available by going online to jasperindiana.gov. Last night turned out to be a busy one for Ferdinand Town officials. During their regular monthly meeting, the Ferdinand Town Council signed off on tax abatements for Webb Wheel products and for Best Home Furnishings. Webb Wheel is investing $325,000 into building improvements along with $3 million in additional equipment. Webb Wheel representatives say there will not be any employees added as the equipment will primarily be automated. Webb Wheel is adding 2 new production lines to their building. They only have 1 currently. They received a 4-year abatement from the town, and that will be 100% the first year, 75% in year 2, 50% in year 3, and 25% in the final year. Meanwhile, Best Home Furnishings will be adding manufacturing and logistical distribution equipment along with hiring 20 new employees. They will get an 8-year abatement from the town, and it will be 100% for the first 5 years before dropping to 75% in year 6, 50% in year 7, and 25% in year 8. Now, both companies have operations in other area communities such as Tell City and Cannleton where they could have expanded. Town Council President Ken Seacard says getting the expansion in Ferdinand is yet another good sign for the town.
It just means that our businesses are being healthy and, wanting to grow. The one was bringing in, $3 million worth of equipment to run. The other one, was bringing in, is going to build a building and put equipment into it. So that's some exciting news for the town of Ferdinand.
In other business, the town council learned that the ongoing phosphorus project at the town's water treatment plant is starting to get a bit expensive. The council learned that the project will likely cost around $2 million for the sludge drying beds. The original estimates set the cost at around $1.4 million, the least expensive of the 3 options that the town considered. Seacard says, though the cost is not what the town wanted to hear, there are options available.
This counts some monies in there that will help us. It's going to get us through the different studies that have to be done, and also pays off some of the fees for a possible grant that we can go after. So, that money's in there. It'll lead to some other things, but $2 million, that's not really what we wanted to hear, but we have to get it done.
The council also heard that the project's timeline will likely be pushed back a little bit. The deadline for submitting paperwork and getting underway with construction is May of next year, but project engineers believe it will take longer than that to get all of the paperwork taken care of. Street paving projects will soon begin in Huntingburg. The project list for this year was submitted as part of the Huntingburg Board of Public Works meeting that was held earlier in the month. Mayor Denny Spinner says the biggest area of concern has been First Street, which runs past the police station and goes into Huntingburg City Park for activities there, including DuBois County Bombers games. Spinner says once other projects in the area get completed, the city will turn its attention to fixing First Street.
Maple Park School is in that demolition process right now. The police station is in the process of being renovated. So we wanted to keep that street. There's going to be a lot of wear and tear on that street yet this summer. So that street is planned to be paved after all that activity is completed, so that we don't go back over the top of something that needed to be done.
Spinner says the city will spend more than $200,000 for street pavings this year, about the same amount that was spent last year. He says even with everything else going on in the city with stellar communities and other projects, infrastructure remains key.
Infrastructure is absolutely the city's responsibility. A lot of investment has been made on streets. We're also looking at, we've had some major projects in our electric and water departments. So that work continues, and we'll just keep chipping away at those things and hopefully make the community to the point where that investment, either as a resident or as a business or industry, that they look at our community and say, this is the type of place that we want to be.
Spinner says paving work will begin in August and will last through the end of the warmer months. Jasper Mayor Terry Seitz will be taking part in a new tradition later this week. Seitz will be receiving the Dove of World Peace during a presentation at Jasper City Hall. The presentation gets underway at 1 o'clock tomorrow. The Dove was brought to Jasper by a group of Jasper High School students who traveled to Germany back in May. The Dove was made by artist Richard Hillinger, who wants it to fly all around the world in an effort to bring peace to countries through travel and learning about cultures. After tomorrow's presentation, Seitz will hold on to the Dove until sometime during Strassenfest, when it will be presented to Mayor Hahn of Pfaffenweiler, Jasper's sister city. Mayor Hahn will then return the bird to the artist, who will give it to other communities all around the world. The Dove has been flying all around the world promoting world peace since 2012. A new survey has found many county agencies around Indiana failed to comply with state laws requiring the disclosure of many public records through electronic request. The survey, commissioned by the Indiana Coalition for Open Government, sought records from 90 public agencies in 30 counties, but just 15 of them provided electronic copies of the documents. The survey was done by Indiana University graduate students who emailed requests to Commissioner's Office and Sheriff's and Health Departments in the randomly selected counties. Open Government Coalition President Gary Lanozga says he expects there will always be problems with public access, but residents should not be discouraged from seeking records from government officials. And finally tonight, the new deal aimed at curtailing Iran's nuclear program has Indiana's congressional delegation responding warily. 9th District Congressman Todd Young says he's highly skeptical of the agreement, and Senator Dan Coates ups the ante to profoundly skeptical. Coates says he's most concerned about the agreement to drop a provision which would have allowed unannounced inspections to monitor Iran's compliance. Coates has repeatedly warned over the last few days that a bad deal would be worse than no deal at all. He does not reject the agreement outright. However, he says Iran's track record means that any details will have to be ironclad. Now, Congress can reject the agreement by majority vote in the House and Senate, but President Obama has already warned he'll veto such a resolution, forcing Congress to muster two-thirds majorities to block the accord. While Young and Coates say they'll review the deal, 2nd District Representative Jackie Walorski goes further, blasting the deal as a pathway for Iran to create a nuclear bomb. All right, coming up after the break, your local forecast and tonight's Informed from the DuBois County 4-H Fair. We're back after this.